used to be one of the most important stuff in Panathēnea. In the ancient Panathēnea, music was so important and so vital that the music contests were the most important fact of the whole day. Today, we're bringing again that element. And we will talk about how tech is transforming the music industry. For this discussion, we will have with us Christian Dorfer, founding and general partner of Defiance Capital, Nicole Jean, Peloton Interactive, Jonathan Vlassopulos, CEO of Napster, and Jack Patterson, musician of Clean Bandit. Let's give them a very, very big round of applause. Good music. There we go.
So, wow. I was so honored to be invited to come and speak here, and when Lars said, you know, who were the best possible people in your network that you could, you know, convince to come to Greece, and I had no idea, but I'm so happy that John and Nicole and Jack was able to make it. You know, I think I've been huge fans of your careers and what you've done over the years. We listen to your music, you know, on repeat at home. So excited that you're here. We're talking music tech. We're talking a bit of generative AI and general trends, and there's so much happening in each of your businesses. But maybe a quick introduction from each of you. Maybe Nicole, you want to start?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Nicole St. Jean. I lead music and content partnerships at Peloton. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with Peloton. It's not in Greece yet, but hopefully someday soon. It is a fitness company, most known for spin bike. And then I've worked in music and tech for really my whole career, so I enjoy mentoring startups.
Great. Thank you. John.
Kalispera. I'm John. It's one of the only conferences I'm excited where everyone knows how to say my name. So Vlassopulos. So I run a company called Napster. I actually invested in Napster 25 years ago, the original Napster, the peer-to-peer. So it was interesting coming back again to run it. And then we sold the company last month to a company called Infinite Reality, a big tech conglomerate in the US. And before Napster, it was a company called Roblox, doing a lot around music and virtual experiences and digital goods.
My name's Jack Patterson. I'm in a band called Clean Bandit. I'm a songwriter and producer, and yeah, we make music videos as well. Do a lot of kind of interactive content, and yeah.
And you are, I think you're a pioneer in tech amongst musicians as well, I think.
Yeah, we got our first big break with YouTube. You know, we were primarily focused on music video. We were spending more time thinking about the videos than we were the music. And that, yeah, it was our first kind of thing that we put on YouTube that kicked off our career. But yeah, we've always been interested in kind of technology behind.
That's great. So everybody's talking about generative AI right now, and it's affecting each of you in different ways, and you're using it in different ways as well. Could you perhaps talk a little bit about how you're thinking about Gen AI in your business and in the industry, you know, share your kind of skepticism or excitement or your kind of take on it. Nicole, do you want to start?
Sure. Does anybody here know the American music producer Rick Rubin? There we go. Okay, so Rick Rubin produced many iconic records. Beastie Boys, Johnny Cash, so many more. He's probably maybe the most famous American music producer. Rick Rubin does not play an instrument. He does not sit behind the soundboard. And what he does is he speaks his prompts basically to the artist. And I think just one slice of exciting generative AI potential is that it can be that for many more people someday and help people create music and help it be more accessible. People who can speak to what they want, people who can hum what they want. That's some of what's happening in Gen AI right now. And I think that's really exciting.
John.
Yeah, so I think it's an exciting time to not only drive creation, but also curation around music and arts more generally. So 15 years ago, I created an app called Rompler that allowed people to remix all their favorite tracks. We worked with top artists, Rihanna, et cetera, et cetera. So that was empowering, again, a music fan. This was sort of early AI, enabled people to not sound terrible and to kind of do their own versions and remixes of their favorite tracks. So that was kind of creating a new class of creator, which music hasn't really had. So in photos, we've had Instagram and video, TikTok. Music hasn't had its moment where regular fans can have that experience of putting their spin, if you like, on a track. So I think that's going to come back, where fans can do their versions of tracks. I'm not as bullish on fully generative AI. I want to double down on amazing artists that already exist, like Jack and his band, and how to get fans closer to the artists that they love and create a deeper connection and fandom. So we did last year the first sort of playlist GPT, we call it, where we leveraged OpenAI and allowed, because on OpenAI you can punch in, give me a chill out playlist to listen to by the pool, and it'll give you a list of tracks, but you can't listen to them. So we simply connected and integrated with DALL-E and OpenAI within our database to allow our fans on the Napster platform to create these playlists, and it got generative art, background, so probably incorporating some Clean Bandit if I'm chilling out by the pool. I'm suddenly a curator. So I've got something that I want to share. It has a great graphic, and it has a great playlist, so maybe now I can be a sort of a DJ and a curator and share it with other people and help people discover. So I'm more excited about, again, helping fans and regular people kind of get deeper into the music and the artists that they love, kind of doing their own versions in collaboration with the art, and then also helping them superpowers for curation to discover more amazing music that they might love, to help other people listen to new music and get away from kind of the top 40 and the things that we generally listen to already on the platform.
Mm. How are you using AI? I mean, I watched a lot of the stories about how it started, and I mean, the kind of ethos of Clean Bandit is very hybrid. You have classical instruments and electronic music, and talk to us a bit about that.
Well, I think throughout the history of music, music has evolved as technology has evolved. If you think about the invention of the pianoforte, before you had the harpsichord and it didn't have any dynamic range, you hit the key and it could only play one volume, right? And then you have this amazing technical innovation that creates this hammer system whereby you can play loud and soft.
Yeah.
And that at the time, the harpsichordists were probably thinking, oh my God, this is terrifying new innovation that's going to put us all out of work. How are we going to figure out this new piano system? But I think for me, the interesting thing about the AI generated music is not the kind of the music being kind of fully created by these kind of systems, but more how it. And I think this is more of a general comment for most creative industries, people using editing software to make, and also like illustrators, editors, painters, and it's just a general. I think it's going to be a much wider change in the kind of way we use computers, and that's like these MCP systems, where you can talk to the AI and it can talk to your software, and that's the thing that I've seen in the last month, which for me is kind of the most exciting. Where I can just, I used to have to click 1,000 clicks to get where I want to be, and auditioning a million different samples, or scoring something and going in and out of the different areas. All that can be then controlled by something that you can talk to. So it's more about how the interface will change, and how I can produce what's in my head more efficiently and with a bigger palette. That's what's interesting for me.
It's so interesting. I've listened to many musicians talk about, someone doesn't really sing cleanly. They have a weird voice, and it's like, stick with that. The fact that you are not a trained singer, stick with that, because just like with movies, and music, everything is becoming so programmatic and so canned. It always sounds the same, and everybody's in it, certainly labels and others, into just making money. Well, let's do another episode. Let's do another season, right? It's like, And as a consumer, I find it super boring. And then you stumble upon something like Clean Bandit with instruments you haven't heard before. It's combined in different ways with different voices. So I think it's really interesting. But will you always be the tastemaker in coming up with new ideas, or will you also kind of use AI to generate a wider spectrum of ideas that you would use?
Yeah, I think we'll definitely be open to that. I mean, there are tools already where you can upload an idea, and then it will generate a whole new set of iterations of the same idea. And for me, that's really interesting because it could be a totally unexpected amalgamation of two different, one melody with a different beat or a different, and also trying out different vocalists. That's something we've already been doing quite a lot. So we'll, have a demo, and then we'll say, well, let's see how does this sound with this person's voice, and then approach that person and then freak them out saying, do you want to sing this for real? And they're like, no way. And then going back to the drawing board. But yeah, I think you have to embrace this stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, it is scary, and there are bits of it that's really grim and kind of terrifying. But I think it's the kids who are going to run with it are going to make the really interesting stuff.
Yeah. I think it gives the artists and everyone, like in the creative industry, superpowers to do things either, as you say, quicker, more efficiently, but then also, music has been limited generally to an output on streaming platforms where the creativity of the artist is limited by a picture, like a profile picture and a bio, which is ridiculous. Right. As creative as they are, so also, Jack could speak in, I want to create this virtual environment and world, and it should do this, and start to paint in 3D in addition to just the music, and the music can adapt to the environment, and people can come together and interact with Jack, So I think the direction that things are going is the fans. Everyone's heard about super fans, and I think there's not just super fans, but just fans. It's enough, even the super fans, to get involved in the creative process, get closer to the artists they love, collaborate using these new technologies. And I think the next era of the music industry, or we're going to call it as we go from consumption to collaboration and sort of social communication, I think is going to be really, really exciting. And the industry, I left it when we did the original Napster. The original vision for Napster was very different to what Spotify ended up being afterwards. Napster was a social platform. You could connect with other people. And it was much more of a platform and less of a service. So we wanted people to connect with their favorite DJs and labels and artists and magazines directly to form these communities. So I think we're hopefully going to go back in this next era. The next 20 years of the business are going to be much more exciting, not just consumption, but this sort of social collaboration, super powered by all the new technology.
Yeah, and I think when you think about, you were talking about Lovable in an earlier panel, which is a way to create apps without needing to use code, to put it in a simple way. But I think the music industry still has all the same slowish infrastructure as every other business, whether it's contracts and legal, and there is an AI agent that can help you look at those and review those. There are all kinds of tools that are helping to make the business run a lot faster and become more fluid, including all the things that we've prior had to build that take a long time. So some of these things are just becoming so much faster, and that piece is really exciting because it's removing some of the blockers for people who don't have access to a studio, don't have access to a lawyer. So in all of those ways, I think it's going to be really cool to see what new creative spaces we see things come from.
As an artist, are you still thinking very much album by album, or are you thinking about involving your fans in the process?
It's a tricky one. Our first record deal kind of changed halfway through. It was originally an album deal, but it changed as the musical landscape changed to a singles deal. And then we were kind of making single by single. And then we found ourselves in this very weird position where every studio session you're like trying to create a single. And I think that's a really unhealthy musical, like kind of creative endeavor. You need the album as a kind of, that's your kind of canvas, where you can have the dark corners of the album where these weird ideas can sit, and then and then the single can kind of find itself in that. And when you're just trying to make single after single, it gets a bit kind of you know, a bit intense. So I think, yeah, the album is, even though they're not really, I think album listening rates have plummeted. I mean, you've probably got this data, but I think as a creative strategy, it's still quite important to think of it
like a theme.
Yeah.
But I guess with their AI tools out there, social media, where you can kind of put out like bits here and there, and you can get a sense of how the fans react to it before it actually becomes a song, or before it comes in an album for sure.
Yeah. No, I think there's going to be definitely like a barbell effect where the push to AI will be one end of the industry, but I think the other end is, the human aspect of music and entertainment more broadly, I think is going to be coming back to the forefront, where people crave human connections with the artist, connections to these live experiences. So historically, the music industry has been these sort of one fan, but three different industries. There's been sort of the live and merch industry, there's been DSPs and streaming, and there's been radio, and then they're all kind of separate business models, but there's one fan. So I think it's going to reconnect around the fan, and the other end of the barbell will be this need for deeper human connection with the artists they love. The live experience is going to enhance, and as we were talking about, become more sort of interactive and immersive. We work with an artist called Lil Nas X. He was able to reach 40 million fans through virtual performances, which he could never do probably in his entire career. And he just wanted to connect directly with his fans in an intimate way. A lot of kids can't afford going to see their favorite artist, even if they come to tour in their city. The tickets are too expensive, so now they can, artists want to connect, have a message. Kesha's here, she's awesome as well. Everyone has a message to get across. So I think there's going to be new ways to kind of blur the lines of the curatorial, social, kind of fun aspects of radio, the sort of, human connection aspect of live and merch, and kind of streaming, which has been consumption, into this new model that we'll have. But again, I think the human side will counteract the deep AI side. So I think we're going to see some exciting things on that side of the spectrum as well.
Do you think technology and Gen AI in particular is going to increase the number of artists or decrease the number of artists?
So I think hopefully it can increase the connection to the artists that we have. There will be more artists. There'll be some breakout artists. There will be virtual artists. I'm an investor in a company in China that's doing sort of virtual artists, and they're doing crazy virtual concerts around China with VR headsets. I mean, there's going to be some mad stuff, happening. A lot of it coming out of K-pop and J-pop in Asia. But hopefully, again, there are enough amazing artists right now who want to have. We're working out ways that you can actually have sustained careers where artists are not going, should I tour, should I not tour? I'm going to lose money when I tour. Like, pretty big artists. So hopefully it can sustain and provide more diversified, revenue opportunities for artists, deeper connections with their fans to kind of supercharge the artists we have. But there will definitely be some breakout new virtual artists, AI artists that will come as well. But hopefully it's empowering, again, the artists we have to do more and kind of sustain. And because touring is really hard. So if there are new ways to sustain your career where you don't have to be on the road 200 days a year, that's good as well.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say, there are really big virtual artists already, like Hatsune Miku and Kitsune AI, and they are almost like, think about maybe Disney characters where there's like Imagineers and illustrators and people who are working on this narrative, and people love these characters and these personifications, and they're virtual in some ways, but it's not so different than what we've kind of seen historically. It's just the way that you're going to create that connection is now going to be maybe available to more people.
Yeah.
So I do think there'll be more.
If anyone hasn't seen ABBA, probably ABBA
Voyage,
Beyond in London is mad, right? So this is ABBA as holograms. And again, a lot of the stuff we were producing at Roblox this is kind of like a real manifestation as going, how are people going to feel about not having human beings that no one seemed to care?
Yeah, they have a real orchestra playing that show. So you still have the feeling of a real live experience, even though the avatars of ABBA are there. So it's like a hybrid, right? There's still humans there in the mix.
Human music, but the whole thing also is incredibly produced.
Yeah.
So from the second in the beginning, there's entertainment with the screens, there's entertainment with the talking, with the performance. So it's almost like a theater meets music meets film together. But they've done, 1.5 million tickets. I mean, 150 million for like one act in one show. So I think sometimes the bands who go and perform get up on stage and play the songs with no real backdrop. the bar is going to be raised. Right? The whole thing needs to be the sort of entertaining, immersive experience. But yeah, the ABBA Beyond thing is pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm personally really excited about AI helping with discovery because you don't have a lot of time, but you want to listen to different artists. You don't want to listen to the same thing over and over again, right? So I think, I'm a Spotify user, as a lot of people are, and at some point it kind of clicked. Their recommendation engine actually managed to introduce me to new artists that I hadn't heard of before, and I hope that this acceleration of new artists comes hand in hand with better discovery tools, so you can just because it's so hard to make a living as an artist. My brother started as a musician, studied at the conservatorium, but he had to switch careers because he couldn't make it. But if discovery is better, maybe it's a more viable business going forward.
Yeah, and maybe like for Jack, if I like Clean Bandit, I want to know what they're into, like as a band and individually. Maybe I pay $3 a month to join the Clean Bandit Club, and he curates playlists for me and says I'm checking out this artist I was here. So I think it's artists as curators, and I think it's going to be a lot more fun.
Yeah, and you need the algorithm to surprise you, right? Like the Discover Weekly on Spotify is based on what you typically listen to. Yeah. But actually, I want to listen to something I never listen to sometimes, that's an opportunity for the AI to kind of help me become a more diverse listener, because that requires my friends to tell me what to listen to.
Yeah, I think AI has a huge potential in music, also just in like speakers and surround sound and experiences. It's amazing. But what do each of you think we will see? What will be the biggest change we'll see in music by 2030?
In 2030, I guess our closing one. So. Yeah, as I said, I think when we came out with our sizzle for the acquisition, I think it's social, immersive, shoppable. So it's this new, people have been left out of the mix of music, which is ridiculous. It's how we all connect, it's how we have fun at that live experience. So I think social is going to come back. Having a music service without people just doesn't make sense. So I think that's going to come back. Again, this immersive, powered by all the tools that we're talking about, where the creation of an artist won't be limited to just music. They'll be creating movies and experiences and games and like the connection, and I think, and then shoppable being new ways where it's not just $10.99 a month to subscribe to a streaming service, but this much more diversified way. There's platforms in Korea and connecting and subscribing, and so new diversified ways to interact and engage with the artists and the curators around the industry. So I think it's going to be an exciting 10 years.
Great. Jack, prediction?
I think a few things. I think Spotify will change, and you'll be able to just choose the song and choose the artist who you want to sing it. I mean, that already exists. I don't see why that won't be implemented, apart from the legal kind of challenges. Yeah. But that will probably prompt some discourse on kind of copyright law and things like that. I think, like I said before, the methods by which we make music, we're just the kind of interaction between producer, musician, and software is going to be that's going to be like a kind of quantum shift in how we actually talk to the computer. And I think like songwriters will write, I think people will be collaborating with AI more. I think we're not far off from, thinking about using like Gen AI in the song creation process. I think.
But not for efficiency reasons, but for creative reasons.
Yeah, I think for creative reasons. I mean, I found myself recently. My grandma got really ill, and she was. My mum texted me with her prognosis from the paramedic, and it was pretty bleak. So I went up to visit her in the north of England, and then I got to the hotel quite late, and there was I was just there with just my phone to talk to and figure out what's going on, and she'd already gone to bed. And I was asking ChatGPT about what is her situation, and it's like, it doesn't look good. She's okay, she's fine now, but at the time, they were like, she might not make it through the night. And then it said, would you like to talk about it? And I was like thinking, well, what do you mean, would I like to talk about it? And then I thought, and so I just kind of was interested, and so I started this dialogue, just kind of out of curiosity. And I said, what do you mean, would you like to talk? And it said, well, I can't understand necessarily, but I can listen. And then I found myself just talking. And I think if you can have that kind of dialogue now, you know, in a songwriting capacity, if I want to, it already feels so close to having, you know, quasi-emotional kind of relationships with these bots. I just think it's not going to be long before people are like, writing with. Because writing music is always a kind of conversation, right? It tends to be a dialogue between, you know, it's a band jamming, or it's two people, you know, Elton John and Bernie Taupin. Bernie's sending him the lyrics by fax, and Elton's taking it and writing the music. And that kind of conversation I can see existing very, very rapidly happening with these kind of...
We're over time, but I have to ask this question because I love going to live experiences. But so if more and more of the music is produced electronically, how can you perform that live unless you just press a button?
Well, we've been pressing buttons for 45 years. You know what I mean? Like since the birth of disco, people have been pressing play since samplers. Like that's an old problem. But yeah, I think it's still tricky. It's still tricky. Like, at what point do you say it's okay to be just like, listen to my song, and at what point do you want to see people kind of bashing buttons or playing bits? It's tricky, but I think that's an existing problem.
Yeah.
There are lots of Coachella acts pushing buttons, and they draw quite a crowd. So.
Yeah. So, and I was thinking you can have a Rick Rubin bot.
Yeah,
you like production feedback.
Nicole, when you mentioned Rick Rubin before, I was wondering, were you imagining he would just exist in the ether?
No, but there is a startup that I heard about last week where it is an 18 Grammy. This music producer has won 18 Grammys, and he is teaching the AI all of the prompts that he gives in the studio. So, can you make this vocal brighter? Can you give more distance to the piano? Like words that he says as a producer that are Rick Rubin-esque. He is an instrumentalist, but yes, precisely for that reason, to give somebody the access to what he would do in the studio. And so it would generate and make suggestions to you about, would you try this, would you try that?
I mean, we could go on and on here, but we're out of time. Thank you, John, Nicole, and Jack. Super excited.
Thank you, Christian. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.